DOJ, the federales in Washington, led by Pam Bondi, now suing the state of Connecticut and a bunch of other states for not turning over state voter rolls here. And they say it's an effort to make sure the voting rolls are clean and up to date, nothing illegal going on. You've got a lot of officials here in Connecticut saying, hey, including, I guess, the Secretary of the State saying, hey, Stephanie Thomas, this is not necessary. Constitutionally, states conduct their own elections, even federal elections, so what's the big deal? Joining us right now is a guy who makes election security a top issue, Republican State Senate member Rob Sampson, 16th District, portions of Cheshire, Prospect, Southington, Wolcott, and Waterbury. And Rob is the ranking member on the Government Administration and Elections Committee, the General Assembly as well. Rob, good afternoon. Paul here. Happy New Year, sir. How are you?
Happy New Year, Paul. Thanks for the great intro. Happy to join you.
Thank you, sir. So update us as to what's going on here. What is the DOJ, Rob, as you understand? What are they exactly asking for? What do they want to do? Why is it, or is it no from the state so far? So explain this whole thing to my listeners.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, we know that there are problems with elections across this country, and we know that there are definitely problems with elections right here at home in Connecticut. And some of us have been reaching out for help from the federal government for a long time. I've written to this Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney General I'm talking about, Pam Bondi, and her predecessors. And I'm delighted to actually see someone, finally beginning an investigation and looking into these things. And wouldn't you know it, the moment that the federal government, the Department of Justice, Trump's Department of Justice, decides to look into voter rolls in Connecticut, they hit, a giant barrier in the form of our local state Attorney General, William Tong, the Secretary of State. The Democrats basically just want to not cooperate with the federal government, and it makes you wonder why. I mean, the whole thing here is all about preserving and making sure that our voter rolls are accurate so that our elections are.
So, Rob, are there other states, I would assume some red states, maybe a couple of purplish states, are other states in the U.S., Rob, cooperating with what the DOJ wants or not, or do we know that?
I'm not really familiar with what other states are doing. I understand that there are definitely other states that are pushing back on the DOJ for this, but again, I don't really understand why. The argument being made by Democrats here in Connecticut is about privacy. But the fact of the matter is that voter rolls are more or less a public record. I mean, a few years ago, the Democrats passed what I consider to be kind of a crazy, inane law, which basically hides the actual date of your date of birth. So only what is available is the month and year. You don't get the actual date unless you're using it for some official governmental purpose. There's a lot of legislation on the state and federal level that intertwine here. I mean, the federal government created the Motor Voter Act, where, you get registered to vote when you're at DMV, which is, by the way, something completely sacrosanct to the Democrats, that they can constantly defend this automatic registering of people. But now that the federal government that passed a law requires it, and includes right in their own statute the ability to review that information, they're trying to block them. I don't understand where they're coming from unless they really do know that our voter rolls are corrupt and they want to hide that information.
So, Rob, explain to me, if you can, the mechanics of the voter rolls. So, obviously, the city and town clerks, I guess, keep them. And are there supposed to be, Rob, copies of these in Hartford at, say, the Secretary of the State's office? How does Connecticut do this? Do we know?
Yes, well, we have an electronic system in the state of Connecticut that all of the local town halls are connected to. So there is a database that is available, and it's easy to access. And like I said, for the most part, it is publicly available. I mean, if you start asking for this information, the Secretary of State will give it to you. The only prohibition really I know of in state law is that if you're going to use it for any commercial purpose, or you might be prohibited from that. And if you want the whole thing, you got to pay $300 for it. What all this is about, Paul, is mail-in voting. That's what this is all about. The concern is that if you have a lot of extra people registered on your voter rolls that may not be legitimate, that means that when there's mail-in voting, that's just a whole bunch of extra ballots floating around out there in the world that can be sent and also can be returned as eligible votes. And for me, that's the problem, and the reason why we need to maintain our voter rolls in a much more distinct and secure way than we have in the past. Having extra people on the voter rolls doesn't matter so much when people are required to vote in person. But when you're mailing out a lot of ballots, it creates problems.
Rob Sampson is the guest, as 16th District GOP State Senate member, is also the ranking member on a key committee in Hartford that watches the voting in elections. So, Rob, obviously you have people dying every day, people moving into the state, people switching town to town, city to city. So I would imagine in an ideal world, these lists are cleaned up or looked at like, what, is there real-time updating? Like if 1,000 people next month, Rob, moved into Connecticut, per se, we only know about that if they register? How does this exactly work?
Right. Well, I would say that, a lot of this is up to the local registrars of voters in the 169 towns all across Connecticut.
Yeah.
And I would say for the most part, they do a good job. And in fact, some places I think they do a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
And they are on top of everything that happens. They're monitoring the obituaries. They're keeping track of mailings when they are returned from the town hall, et cetera. So they know when people come and go, and they keep a pretty good eye on the voter rolls. Sadly, there are very little requirements on the Secretary of State to do so. In fact, I've been trying to put a bill in for the last several years to make it an actual requirement that the Secretary of State, on an annual basis, does a very thorough review of the voter rolls and uses specific information to verify the veracity of those voter rolls, like checking against the database of people that are in the country on visas, people that have drive-only driver's licenses, implying that they are not actual U.S. citizens eligible to vote, and so on. And they refuse. Year after year, I try and put these bills in to create more protections and voter
What is
integrity.
What is their reasoning when they say, sorry, Sampson, this ain't going to fly? What do they tell you?
Well, they make up some excuse about protecting privacy or voter suppression. And they're right. I want to suppress certain votes. I want to suppress the votes of people who are not eligible to vote in our elections. And I want to suppress the votes of people who are cheating. And clearly they don't. And that's really the distinction that people on the street should understand, is that no Republicans are trying to block people from voting based on, their neighborhood they come from or their race or ethnicity or any of that stuff. We want accurate, honest elections so we know who actually won.
Yeah. Rob, while I have you here, on one other thing here, the short session gets underway, early February, right, I believe? Now, it's the short session, Rob. It's an election year. The governor, the constitutional officers, the lieutenant governor, your compadres there in the state house and state senate. So is this going to be just renaming post offices or what? I mean, is anything of major merit going to happen here, or is anybody, especially in the governor's end of thing, they're going to be careful here because everybody's got a re-election coming up in November?
That's a great question, Paul, and it remains to be seen, really. I mean, some of the more ardent Democrats, particularly the leadership in the House and Senate, they're gung-ho. They feel like they're coming off a tremendous municipal election victory, and they want to push the envelope. And certainly, I don't want to see those policies enacted, but I don't mind when they show their hand and they tell the people of Connecticut just how out of whack they are and how out of touch with some of the policies that they want to put into place. Our state is more and more unaffordable all the time. It is less and less safe all the time. Our elections are more and more suspect all the time. And if they have their way this year, they're going to make that situation even worse. So I'm hopeful that they tone it down, but I doubt they will. I think that they think they're on the right side of things, and they're not.
Rob Sampson. Thank you, Rob. Rob is the ranking member of the General Assembly's Government Administration and Elections Committee. And again, Rob is a state Senate member from the 16th District, Southington, Wolcott, Waterbury, Prospect, Cheshire, and others. Rob, thanks. Appreciate it, man. And I'm sure in the next few weeks we'll talk. Thank you, sir.
Always appreciate it. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks. Appreciate it. So there you go. So the feds want to see the state's voter rolls. The state makes some sort of argument that, no, we run the elections. You don't. It is just... can't do this because it's going to disenfranchise people. Again, this is one of those things, folks. Like I say, we bitch and holler and moan about it, and nothing ever changes. And again, you may say, well, what's the big deal? Sooner than later, mail-in voting, which I am not against. I'm not against mail-in voting. A lot of states do it, particularly in the Pacific Northwest. They do it well, but you know what? The states that do mail-in voting and do it well had a very open process. It took them several years to get it done. They have good things like ballot and signature security. So you tell me, are we going to have that in Connecticut? In the land of Bridgeport or not? You tell me. Go ahead. Learn me something.